So welcome back, guys. Got a bit done this week, not as much as I had hoped. Ended up having to do some work with my job, things that I get paid for, and it was a little bit busier with that this week. And also took a day on the weekend to go up and work at the family cottage and get some repairs done up there after the winter. Things that need to be done so that I can get my other boat in the water at some point. We can get the other boat in and people can actually enjoy the place instead of working there every weekend, which is how it felt last summer. But I did get a little bit more of the wiring done. Decided to stop working on the wiring for a little bit to do something else. I noticed as I was working up here in the V-berth, that right now the way the boat is sitting on the trailer, it's going uphill that way. So every time I dropped anything, it would roll down here, down this hole, or the one on the other side, end up going down here and down under the floor, and I'm really tired of picking stuff up from there. So I don't know what these holes were originally for. These two holes, as well as the one at the bottom, were already here when I got the boat. You can see in this shot what it kind of looked like in the cabin when I got it. Somebody had removed most of the interior and left the existing headliner in shreds. So what I decided to do was I created a couple of wooden boxes like this. That I'm going to now mount. By the way, I made them out of wood, but they've all been sealed with polyurethane. And so what I'm going to do is mount them up in here. And then I've got a couple of pieces of wood that I'm just going to use that I've cut and I also sealed that will go in here as lids. So hopefully things will stop falling down the hole and I can get back to what I was working on. So that's my first project today. I originally made the boxes a little bit taller. The problem is that down inside here, there is a vertical rib that hangs down. And then at the bottom here is the end of the stringer. So even though once the box is in place, there's a little bit of room for a slightly taller box or a slightly deeper box, I can't actually get it into the space. So I had to make them the height that they are. But that's okay, it gives me a little bit more storage, just a couple of little storage compartments that will be underneath the bed with removable hatches. And I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do in here. I'm thinking of actually possibly putting a drawer down in this bottom hole. Might work a little bit better. Anyway, that's the plan for now. As I was showing in my last video, I was working on the electrical panels over here and running some wires. So I have a nice mess of wires and switches on the end of wires, and those wires are the power feeds from the switches to wherever they're going. I still need to run all the feeds from the fuse panels right here down to those switches and things like that. Basically what I was doing was I was running all of the wiring that goes from the switches to the various locations. So I'm putting some strip lighting down here along the shelves. I've got on the other side a couple of reading lights that are going to be above what's going to be the bed. I've run wiring into here for some lights that are going to be over the galley cabinet. I've also run a wire back into the boat where this fan is going to mount. It's a little 12-volt inline fan, works into a 3-inch hose. I didn't finish the installation of that because what I'm going to do is I'm going to have I've ordered a 3-inch vent to go up in here that is going to be the intake to draw air out of the galley area and out of the boat for ventilation. I've also ordered another fan just like this It's going to be a ventilation fan for the head to draw air out of the head as well. So, but what I have done is I have run wires already to the locations where those fans are going to mount, kind of into the sides of the cockpit. So it'll be quieter in here when the fan's running because it's going to draw the air from there and then out the back of the boat. I've also down here installed another little fan like I was showing you last time, those little computer case fans. I've installed one of those down there to draw air into the back and basically blow it across the back of the refrigerator to disperse the heat that the fridge is drawing out. I'm also going to mount another one of those fans up on the other side to draw the air out of the space that's under the counter and kind of blow it into the cockpit area to get it out of the cabin so we can keep the cabin from building too much heat, and that the fridge and everything in there gets enough airflow. It also help keep down condensation because it'll just keep the air moving in these enclosed areas. This, I don't know if you remember this wooden box. Once this panel is installed in place here, this wooden box mounts up here to kind of cover things up. I've put a little LED light on here that's going to be for just some general lighting if you're sitting here. So I've been doing a lot of planning of where the electrical systems are going to go and running a bunch of wires. But really all I have to show for it this week is this tangled mess of wires, because I guess that's what I've been doing. I do have a few things that I'm waiting for that I've ordered. Like I said, the other fan like this, as well as the air intakes that I'm putting in here so I can finish the installation of the fan, and I'll have the other one ready for the head. Next thing I need to do that I started on was I need to actually add a little bit of blocking in behind here and then onto that piece that goes here so that it'll hold this shelf up, and then I'm going to mount the under cabinet lights in there. I also received another box of stuff that I ordered yesterday. And that will be, so when I start working on the head, so I ordered some more of the hose, the sanitation hose for the toilet, to run between the toilet and the holding tank, the waste tank, as well as the hose that I need for the through hull that I'm going to install to use as an inlet for the toilet. I also received the wiring that I need for wiring the shore power. So the heavier gauge wire that goes from the shore power inlet on the side of the boat to the breaker panel, as well as the wire I'm going to use from the various breakers to the devices like the fridge and the stove and the outlets, and eventually the water heater and the receptacles, and they will all be wired to this shore power panel that's going to be mounted over here like I showed in an earlier video. So that's pretty much it for this time. A couple of other things that I'm working on as well. I need to mount the air horn on the boat on the outside, and it's going to go on the outside of the hull above here. The outside of that part of the hull is still painted with some weird purple metal flake paint that some previous owner put on there, so I need to sand that and clean it up and repaint it white, because I think it'll just look better up there. That purple really doesn't go with the blue that I painted on the rest of the hull, so I'm going to have to repaint that and then mount the horn up there. So I'm going to wait for a nice day. There's a couple little holes I need to patch up with some thickened polyester resin mixture. So then I need to sand it and prep it and paint it, and that will be coming up in the next week or so. And then I can mount the horn. The reason I need to mount the horn now is because I still have good access up in here for the wires and the hose, because there's going to be an air horn on the outside and a small air compressor mounted inside. So I've got to get that mounted before I cover all of this up with the parts of the galley cabinet. So that's another thing I'm going to have to do fairly soon. Will be coming up in the next couple of weeks. But I think that's it for this time. Just a bit of an update on what I've been up to, and see you around next time.